that you truly believe that if the Americans were made aware and knew the truth of history, that they would insist upon a change of policy in the Middle East?
I do that, and I know America very well. I think, for example, that if long ago Americans had been informed of the cause and effect relationship of Israeli occupation to Palestinian violence, I think they would have demanded an end to Israel's occupation long ago. But let me tell you this, and viewers, I have a love-hate relationship with America. On the one hand, and generally speaking, I think that Americans are the dimmest, dumbest, most underinformed people on earth. Now, I've said this on public platforms in America, so I can say it here. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is that deep down, Americans are the most idealistic people on earth. If they could be properly informed and well led, I think they not only could, but would turn around their own nation and change it so that it become what we all need it to be, the leader to change the world and make a more just and better world. Now, there are people who say to me, Alan, you're extremely naive for thinking that about Americans, but I have been to America a lot. I know Americans. I've lectured and debated there. I think I'm right to have that faith in the essential idealism of Americans.
I think what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that you believe that there could be a real peace and a basis of justice for the Palestinians?
My jury is out on that. I mean, I think the situation at this moment fills me with gloom. I mean, now is not the time to go, because I'll be exploring this with my guest in the coming series. No, all I'm saying is that I think if the citizens of the Western world, and Americans in particular, could be informed of the truth of history, I think pressure would generate for their governments to use the leverage they have to be serious about peace, which has to be based on justice for the Palestinians. But I think we have to mobilize people power to make democracy work.
And I know that you describe the mainstream Western media, the TV, the radio and the newspapers, as being complicit in Zionism's suppression of the truth of history. I think this is your way of saying the Jews control the media.
No, Chris, that's not what I'm saying. And I have fights with every Arab and every Muslim I hear saying the Jews control the media. Now, I know that's how it may look, but it simply is not the case. The problem is even worse than that. The problem throughout the Western world is self-censorship. The truth of the matter is that the media, the mainstream media, like politicians almost without exception, are frightened, no, correction, terrified of offending Zionism. I'll give you just one or two examples. Newspapers don't make their money from selling newspapers. They make their money from selling advertising space. So what they fear if they offend Zionism is the pulling of the advertising plugs. Now you can say to me, but the BBC is not commercially driven. No, it isn't. But the BBC is terrified of offending Zionism. If for a programme, a news item or whatever, you offend Zionism, the BBC can get as many as 10,000 emails. Now that's a lot of hassle for busy working journalists, producers and whatever. But there's more to it as well.
The whole world knows that Bush has demonised Iran by branding it as part of the axis of evil. My worry for you as my father, when you're making your programme Heart of the Matter, and it's for the first transmission for Press TV, which is for an Iranian network, is I am concerned, and are you not concerned, that because of your association with it, Iran's enemies, and the Zionists in particular, would accuse you of joining forces with the axis of evil?
Well, let me be very straight about this. I try to be with most things. First of all, so far as the mainstream Western media is concerned, I do not exist. My book does not exist. They just will have nothing to do with it because they don't upset Zionism. So, for starters, I have to take advantage of any opportunity I can to contribute towards informed and honest debate. So I have this opportunity with Press TV, which, as you say, is an Iranian network. But I also have to say I have total editorial control of this program. Nobody else, it's me. I decide who I want to interview, what questions I want to ask, and I have the commanding control, say, of the editing. So it's my program. But there's another little thought I'd throw in. If you were to ask Arabs and Muslims, I suspect that most of them would say that the real axis of evil was the one that ran through Bush's Washington, Blair's London, and Tel Aviv.
Do you fear for your life?
I'll confine myself by saying that I am aware that I could be a target for assassination, and frankly, not only by Zionists and supporters of Israel, right or wrong.
For my indulgence, can you elaborate?
Not too much, but I'll put it this way. Arab regimes, some of them, have one thing in common with Zionism. They also do not want the truth of history to be told, because it exposes their impotence.
You participated in several secret diplomacy missions. Can you elaborate and put some more detail in terms of what you accomplished?
Well, I do that in my book in some detail. I think all I would say by way of elaboration is that what I learned, particularly about Israel, is that even the best motivated Israeli leaders probably cannot make peace on any terms acceptable to the Israelis. It's a hell of a mess. Let me close by defining for you Zionism, what I understand by Zionism really. Zionism's philosophy is this: Jews can never trust Gentiles. Therefore, we had to create a state for some Jews which would be a refuge of last resort, an insurance policy when the world turns against them again. And if that required to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, well, that's the way it was. Too bad. And if the Gentile world doesn't understand that, it can go to hell. That's the reality of Zionism's position. And how we deal with that, I don't know.